Hi and welcome to vlog 2. Firstly, apologies for using the same two athletes and also their lack of equipment. We're in a lockdown here due to coronavirus, and getting access to people and venues is impossible. However, we'll do the best we can with who we have and what we have. Thank you. Shortly, we will see athlete 1, who is a 10-year-old boy attempting his short sprint. A bit of history: he actually broke the radius and the ulna on the right arm about 8 or 9 months ago in a trampolining accident, and this will be quite apparent when you see the videos and images of him sprinting. We start with the anterior view of athlete 1 sprinting. His start position could do with a little bit of work. He is quite high. We could reduce the height of the center of gravity and adjust the feet and arm position to increase a more explosive start to his sprint. The function of the arms are important as they provide a counterbalance to the rotary motion of the legs, and we can clearly see here the angle of the old injury that it causes the arm to hang across the body and move across the body instead of the more conventional path of forwards and back. This is a capacity issue. However, we are going to treat this as a skill intervention because of his age. The increased arm function, or more efficient arm function, could also assist in the start and acceleration phase of any sprinting that he does. Soon we have a lateral slow motion view, and you can see again the right arm coming across the body whilst the left arm carries a more traditional and conventional path forwards and rear. Athlete 2 is a 13-year-old footballer who has very good straight line speed once he reaches pace, which will probably be after 5 meters at least. However, he does suffer from Osgood slatters, which is something we are going to hopefully address with some interventions. The start position is also quite high, and this could do with some work. Again, lowering the center of gravity, adjusting the arm position, also adjusting the foot position. This anterior view slow motion view shows that there is an imbalance between the left and the right side, which is possibly linked to the Osgood slatters. We see here the foot placement is skewed, and also the leg position is not as an optimal position. This could affect transfer of power and also balance. Again, this could also be a factor to do with any pain that is felt by the athlete. This is a capacity issue, and we can hope to address it by reducing the imbalance between the hip flexors, the hamstring and the glutes, and develop his hip extension, and hopefully assist this athlete with his gait and movement in the sprint process. With athlete 1, we're looking at gross motor skill practices, looking to retrain that movement pattern and reinforce muscle memory. With the start position, it's just to remind him it's like a coiled spring with the prompt of ready, go. The arms, we're starting in the seated position, working from the pocket up to the cheek, purely focusing on repetition, repetition, repetition. If we can, we try and gamify it because of his young age to retain interest. We can progress to him sitting on a cushion and increasing the tempo and intensity. However, we have to maintain his concentration levels, as we can see here, because they do waver. The intervention for athlete 2 was slightly different. We are going to be focusing on the hip flexors and the glute region. So we'll be doing some adduction exercises, some adduction lifts, stabilizing the core. Also, we can look at the use of clam movements these can be modified and developed in a variety of different ways, and we can also, by the use of band or weights, load the movements once he becomes more proficient. Also, slowly introduce the single leg squat movement. However, these are very early days, and we would not rush this, and it's just to promote stability and balance. And as you see here, the range of motion is quite limited, and we would take this slowly. With athlete 1 and agility, we set up a simple cone movement exercise. As you see here, he actually sidesteps between the cones, and his body height doesn't really adjust. It doesn't lower, and he breaks a lot as he changes direction, with the leg being relatively straight. And we could look to intervene with acceleration and deceleration drills, and also lateral movement drills for this skill issue. For athlete 2's agility movement, we had a rather limited space. However, we did the best within the circumstances. He appears to have a similar capacity issue on the left side, and when we look at the still pictures, you will see the difference and the imbalance between the right and the left with regard to a straight leg high position versus a lower bent, more powerful position that would enable him to change direction more effectively and more quickly. On the left side there, the leg is quite straight, and he doesn't appear to load so much weight onto it. Whereas on the right side, he appears much more happy to turn, to push off, and to have weight bearing on that side. I do feel that this is a relatively good position for him to be in. We would like him to be a little bit lower, but again highlights the imbalance between the left and the right side for this athlete, and we will address this capacity issue a little later. For athlete 1, the interventions we're going to look at are acceleration and deceleration drills, and also lateral drills. The space is a little bit critical here, but we'll do the best we can. We're trying to encourage the athlete to go low on any change of direction and push off strongly, using a low center of gravity to provide a stable platform and stable base. And also look at how he could use the arms. During this lateral shuffle exercise, we're trying to increase foot speed, and ideally we would like the athlete to go a little lower. However, this is a good starting point. With athlete 2, the intervention we're going to look at for his capacity issue is building on the strength, mobility and function of the hip and gluteal region. Also his balance. He's a relatively long athlete. We begin by taking out some lunges, focusing on balance and core stability. Also from there we could progress to clock lunges. However, he does show some limitations at certain angles of movement, especially towards the posterior or lateral side. Then we could move on to some unloaded squats. Again, we need to look at mobility and stretching work, because the athlete does appear to be quite tight around the hip and glute region. After that, we could progress to some jump-in squats, again unloaded. However, the focus is on efficient and safe mechanics first. To conclude, it has been really interesting working with these two athletes, also because they're my sons, and I do feel they could make quite rapid progress in a short space of time, provided they had the correct routine and structure in place. And we have only just touched the surface with these relatively simple interventions with regard to speed and agility.